Hi, my name is Abbey Nocera, and I'm the Director of Programming at the Enlighten Foundation. Today I'm joined by Anne Griffith and Cory McIntyre, who's one of our shooting stars. Today we're gathered to talk about the topic of identity as we kind of dig through some of these journey discussions. Now, as we talk about identity, we have to remember that we're looking at a place in our life where we are heading down this road that is often bumpy and often hard to navigate. We can get lost. We can be distracted. Sometimes we wonder, what is this God-given identity and where did I lose it at this point in my life? So I'm asking you ladies, what do you think your roles and responsibilities are? And how does that kind of gear into our topic of identity?
Well, you're looking at me. I would say that I have probably a million roles and responsibilities. I don't even know all of them. And if I'm doing the right thing that God would want me to do, I would have to say I ask every single day if I am doing the right thing in terms of my roles and responsibilities. But I think sometimes all I want to do is go sit on the beach. It is so much work, and so hard to navigate it all, to juggle it all. And I feel like, if I'm doing the right thing that God would have me do, is it necessary to do all of these? Is it necessary to be perfect at all these or try to be perfect at all these? I'm not really sure, and I think a lot of women are, as to exactly how to parse it all together in one day.
Right. That makes sense.
Yeah.
Cory, how do you feel about that? What are your roles and responsibilities?
Well, I don't feel like I have a whole lot of roles and responsibilities as far as compared to Anne, who does take on so much. I think that I've always tended to be a peacemaker. I always want to make sure everybody around me is happy and taken care of, and like I said, the peacemaker. So I'm always tending to, my role is, I'm really screwing this up. You'll have to splice a lot here. Sorry. I just always am trying to take care of anyone when it comes to my office, to my work life, which is what I feel is all consuming sometimes. I'm always trying to navigate through just the office.
Yeah. Well, if I could step in here.
Please step
I've known you for what, 30-something years?
About 30 years, yeah. I'd say
And
so.
you're like the hub of your company. It's extraordinary how you field the different people in your world. And you are an expert negotiator. I mean, you've learned this.
I have.
And it's been a major responsibility for
And
you.
it's taken me a lot of time, I think, to hone into that and to be able to find where my place is in that, and to be comfortable with taking on that role and being able to kind of see what everybody's needs are, make sure everybody's taken care of, that everything's peaceful. I don't ever want conflict, so I always try to just make sure that everyone's happy and everybody's just sort of taken care of, but keeping the peace and knowing all the different aspects of what's going on. And
Yeah, it's exhausting sometimes.
I don't know.
It's
I feel like I
exhausting.
work with a lot of difficult people, specifically a couple of difficult people, and it's hard to navigate through that sometimes, but I always want everything to be good. I want people to be happy. I want no conflict. And I don't know, I think I've gotten pretty good at doing that and trying to
Excellent.
lead people into the right direction as far as what they want to be doing, what should you be doing versus, going crazy and I don't
Yelling,
know.
which is what I probably would
and
be doing.
I get a lot of that, and I'm always the one that I tend to get a better response by not yelling. And
see?
I am better.
Always can
at,
learn from people like that.
You can, and if you're going to yell at me, then I'm going to kind of stay calmer and tell you the reasons that doesn't really
That's a major-
work,
That's a
and-
gift.
That's a real gift.
And I
That's a
found
real
that you
gift.
get a better response from people. I don't want to elicit an angry side of someone. So if you're angry, well, then I'm going to be the calm in the storm, and we'll work our way through it. But I need peace, and I try to bring that to everyone around me.
That is so nice. Well, that's different than me.
Well, and I think that's God injecting himself in your life.
Absolutely.
You know,
Thank
we
God
look
for
at
the
all of-
peacemaker.
Yes,
Yeah, we have all these challenges and these roles and responsibilities, and we often lose sight of that identity. And I think yours is crystal clear.
Right.
You know, often that peacemaker piece of you and the negotiation and being able to figure it all out, which is such a clear God-given gift.
Right.
That, you know, he put in you with a purpose
Yes.
of continuing to put light into the world. But I think we also have to keep in mind that right now things are a little crazy.
Oh, everybody's insane.
Our normal way of taking on a role and responsibility hasn't been that way. You know, I'm a school teacher, a special ed school teacher, and I find that that's been one of the hardest jobs I've ever had, but that has taken a whole new meaning right now in the middle of the pandemic. So if you had asked me this question a year ago, you know, I would have said, well, yeah, it's been really challenging because I have two little people, my 3 and my 5-year-old, and, you know, I have teaching and I'm a mom and I've lost my identity, but it's not just that. It's now I'm a healthcare worker and
Yes.
I'm out in the front lines and my entire day is spent 8.5 hours fully masks, face shields, gloves, you know, with all of these middle schoolers who are coming to learn but can't quite get over that hurdle of what's happening, to leave the anxiety behind, to leave the depression behind, to be present in the classroom is asking so much of them right now.
Right.
Just like I think society is asking so much of us, there are so many demands and I absolutely have seen my identities just slip through the cracks.
I would say that is the major issue right now for women and men in particular, is the fact that their identity is just like, where am I? What am I doing here? And how am I negotiating and fielding all of these new restrictions placed on my life? I think that's a very it's a flummoxed feeling for a lot of women, and then you have to become someone sometimes that you're not, and that's not really. That's not what, maybe God challenges us to do that, but it's certainly not a comfortable place to be when you're in those.
Well, don't you feel like you have to have moments like these, right? That rock bottom, so to speak, where God says, all right, let's pick back up the pieces.
That's right.
You know, we're all in this same place. A lot of us have lost that identity. You know, so many parents are becoming teachers now.
Yep.
You know, with the way that schools look.
And that's not what they thought they'd be doing.
They didn't sign up for that either.
No, they didn't sign up for that. And
so
that's not their forte. That's not their identity.
Right. And so I think right now God is inviting us to embrace that challenge, you know, turn back to Him and ignite the true purpose in our lives. You know, it may look a little bit different.
Yeah.
But that's okay. That's what God intends for us to tackle those challenges, to put that face forward as the Christian women that we are.
Yeah.
You know, I'm wondering when I kind of think about these, I know, Cory, you addressed some of the awesome strengths that you bring to the table. You know, Anne, you were talking about for you, you know, what it's like to have all these responsibilities and these roles. So knowing that God has given you gifts and knowing that God has created you with these amazing characteristics, these personality traits, what are those for you? We know what they are for you.
Yeah.
What do you find that those strengths are for you? Because we're going to look at how you then use those to continue to push our purpose and God's purpose into the world. So do you have some kind of inkling?
I would say that the characteristic I have is that, and I even talked about this the other day with people, is when there's fear in the world, which I think there's fear in the world right now, and people tend to pull back on their lives, their identity, and they just decide to be someone that they need to be, not who they necessarily are. That's the time for us to stand forward in exactly who we are. That we not only feel like we can do it, we're charged to do it. So when people tell me not to do something or that I have to sit in a box, that's the first time I start carving out the walls to find the holes to get out of there, because there's another way. So from my perspective, and I tend to roll over people, much unlike Cory, that's why I love her so much, is that I tend to direct, and I say, no, let's try this, let's go there, let's go in front. I tend to be front line and break through. And I feel like that has been able to help in many ways some people in our family. In other ways, it's irritated them. But I think that that's the characteristic I have, is that I have no problem getting in front of people. I have no problem breaking through barriers, and I have no problem charging forward as God would see us do that. So that's, and sometimes it gets to be a little too much, but that's who.
Well, you're a
I
leader.
am.
Most of us would call that
Absolutely,
leading.
absolutely.
You're
No.
a leader or a God-given pusher.
Yeah, God-given pusher.
You're a
I think
God-given
that's a
pusher.
good idea.
Encourage right where she sees us. 'Cause we don't always see where we're supposed to be, and I think
My
you have
God-given pusher.
an idea as to what that is, and you gracefully encourage
That's right.
Yeah, well,
people to.
you do,
Well, and
not
people need
necessarily.
that. I think that right now we're living in a world that none of us ever thought we would find ourselves in.
Yeah.
There's been so much change, so many, even in the industry in which I work, and so many people all around. There's so much change that it's left me to sort of question a lot, you know, and just to see every day that things are so different today than they were 6 months ago, a year ago, that I just kind of go, okay, well,
Is this
what
right?
is my role now?
Yep.
There's change all around me, and I don't really know what I'm doing some days,
Yeah.
and what am I supposed to be doing? What does God want me to do? I've always felt like I had this place in the world where I, you know, want to take care of people and nurture them and lead them in the right way, and now I'm sort of left questioning, am I going the right way, and what am I doing, and is this where I want to be now? Because I don't know, I feel like I'm questioning things that I never did before. And I just am trying to stay true to myself and who I think I'm supposed to be, who God wants me to be. And it's tough some days, but it's just navigating through a world that I've never known before. And we're just all sort of figuring it out, I think, as we go.
Well, and I think questioning is all part of that process.
Yeah.
Questioning leads us to dive into identity. So as you can see, this topic has really ignited a lot of thoughts and a lot of that discussion amongst us. So we're going to stop here, and then I'm going to ask that you join us again for part 2 as we continue to dive into the topic of identity.